Hello, Foster Care 85 here, back with the next chapter of my life story. So, within a year of leaving foster care, I've dropped out of high school. I drink now. I snort coke. I've experienced an abusive relationship where I've gotten bruises all up and down my legs and thighs, and other things done to me that I don't care to mention that are quite horrendous. Um, I leave this relationship. I moved back in with my grandparents. Soon after that, I meet someone who says, "Do you want to try heroin?" And I say, "Sure." Um, what wasn't offered and accepted by me was hepatitis C. Um, he didn't tell me he had it until after I had already gotten high. I stupidly shared a needle with him. Um, so after I'm high and like there's nothing wrong in the world, everything's right in the world, feeling over me. Um, with that feeling, and then added on to that, I still today have, trouble valuing myself. Um, so back then, I really didn't think I amounted, think that I really didn't see myself as to amounting to much. So me dying from a horrible disease or overdose or what have you just made sense to me because obviously I didn't know how to live. Um, it wasn't long before I stole some of my grandparents' checks. Um, Me and him took turns cashing them. Um, it lasted a month, and they arrested me February 24th, 2005. I did have a bond, so being the desperate and non-thinking individual I was back then, I guess I was 19, 20, something like that, yeah. I called my last abusive ex Jason. I'm sure I rationalized that even though he was the way he was, at least he never, shot up anything or gave me a disease or went to jail when I was with him. Um, but then as soon as he got me bailed out and at the house, he got more violent with me. Um, Funny how things work. Um, he was passed out in the bed from drinking too much, and I was sitting up next to him because I was honestly, honestly contemplating murder, but more mad at myself because being with him, um, I might as well be in jail. Um, well, I guess my higher power, who I choose to call God, uh, not even an hour later, it doesn't even feel like there was a doing cop at the door. And some of the other checks that I had written hadn't gotten caught up yet or warranted out or whatever. Uh, and it was another county. And so, of course, they knew where to find me because I was out on bail. And so it was the one time when uh, I could say I really didn't, no, not really, no. Not the only time I could say I could mind, I could say I mind getting arrested. Um, uh, Um, so, so to get away from him, and this time I stay away. Um, I'm not even mad I'm being arrested again. Um, I just said that. I'm sorry. I'm reading this. It's a whole lot this time. This is the part where things kind of start getting blurry for me. Because obviously I'm using drugs. Um, so I specifically had to write like literally everything down. Um, so I get sentenced to a year, which only had to do 10.5 months. I did 6 months at one jail and four at another. Because they were, two different counties. So I get out of jail. Well, let's back up. You know how when you're in jail, you can only call out, meaning you have control over who you have contact with. I make the calls. I put the person on my visitation list. So because I'm severely lonely, codependent, plain dependent, um, low self-esteem, uh, yes, they were willing to um, I could have went back to my grandparents. Um, they were willing to take me back because I explained to them that it was the drugs. I mean when I was walking when I was carrying those checks in the bank, it was like it was like in my mind I had every right to do this. It was like I mean and like I always had intention on like putting the money back. Um, but of course, that's not gonna happen. Um, I did work at Waffle House. Uh, I worked the night shift, the overnight shift, so I didn't make that much money. And that's how I intended on paying my grandparents' bank account back. But you know, you always need more money, and that money just never gets back in that account, does it? Um, so um, in my life, I could have done this a million times. I could have went to my grandparents' house, stayed there, did my probation, got a job, started a life. Um, but no, I get released and go back to Jason's. The next few months are blurry. It's all I know. It's a lot of alcohol, cocaine, fighting, mental, physical, sexual abuse. Um, Eventually I called my grandma to come get me. Finally, um, and it wasn't easy leaving. Uh, he not because I was like having like heartbreak over it. Um, he was like dumping like my bags out like over the yard, just like try to prolong my leaving. And my neighbor next door must have seen what was going on, and she knew Jason, and she knew how he was, and she knew he drank, and she might have knew about the drugs. I don't know, um, but she called the police, or no, no, no. She yelled out that if that she was going to call the police if he didn't stop, and he stopped and left us alone and went back in the house. And me and my grandma rebagged all my stuff up, put it in the car, and I can I can think to describe it as like like a mush funk. It had just endured heroin, jail, abuse, cocaine, alcohol. Leaving him and moving in with my grandparents meant that I wouldn't have any connections, and I didn't care. But what I did need was some weed, which I got, which was the first time I was brave enough to smoke weed in my room at my grandparents' house. I stayed there a while, but I got those bad traits in me that, like, I just can't sit still long enough to make anything good happen. And if I did start to put a life together, I'd wreck it. Well, I meet this next guy one day, and I get his number, but then I lose it. That was probably the universe trying to work to my favor. Um, it had been, oh, it had to have been, I don't remember where we first met, but I acted surprised when I walked out the probation office. Yeah, I don't remember where we met, but I acted surprised when I walked out the probation office and seen him outside. Match made in heaven, right? Turns out he was on probation too. And I believe we had the same officer as well. And it was as if there was never a warning, that we exchanged numbers. Never warning. And we exchanged numbers again. And we talked that night, and he's telling me how he's, doing it, but it's hard living in a house that uses and stay clean. And I actually know the place that he's living at because I've hung out there. I'm not sure how it all came to be, and I'm not sure how many conversations were had, but next thing I know, me and him have moved into a motel together. The first week was okay. The second week, Wednesday, I don't know why I specifically remember that, when he got paid every week. Um, he had a job doing heating and air. I didn't really know about crack hotels, but I did now, and it didn't it didn't make any sense why he left one place because it was hard to stay clean, only to go to another place where this was like a little crack community. Putting money together, girls sharing hygiene products. Me personally, I like to put on makeup, dress up, smoke crack. I don't know. Because I am an addict, and at this point, had never heard of recovery. Um, Not to mention, it's been a long time since my color has come up for a drug test. That was part of my probation. Um, if My color, I think, was silver. Yeah, it was silver, and I had to call this number every day. And the probation office would do a recording every day saying, "This is January 15th, whatever. January 15th, 2021, the color today is silver." And if it said that, then I had to go down to the office and take a urine screen. Um, um, so I wasn't I wasn't good at much, but I was good at getting high. Plus, my thinking was, well, I've done cocaine, I've done heroin, why not smoke crack? This lasted till end of August, beginning of September. Turns out my PO was pregnant and then had like overload of cases, including mine, that didn't get assigned to a new one till like a few months later. Long enough for me to become a crackhead. I know that. Um, I did change my address and phone number to the hotel, so the police officer, the new officer, was able to get in touch with me, and she told me to come in um, September 1st. And of course, I pissed dirty for cocaine. Um, Crack, of course, shows up as that. I think because this was our first meeting, she wanted this to be like, she wanted to try to get a, she wanted me to, she wanted to try a fresh start with me and like give me a second chance as well. Um, so she told me to come back the following Tuesday with clean urine and be on time for the class I was going to be starting. I was going to start taking that night. It was probably like 6 or 7 p.m. Well, I didn't stay clean. I didn't show up for the class. We actually had a good sized bag of crack for once. Uh, I know, right? This this new PO I briefly had didn't waste any time. Next thing I knew, the police was banging on the door, and uh, don't ask why. I run to the bathroom. I don't know. He eventually opens the door, and I eventually come out the bathroom. They handcuffed me. Their room was on the second floor, and never have I ever done what I did, what I thought I could do under the influence of crack, knowing there was more. I literally believed I could run from the cops with handcuffs on and become a fugitive crackhead. I ran from the police, and as I ran, I did manage to get one of my handcuffs off. Um, and as I'm running, they're running, and it isn't long before they catch up with me. And they grab me up, they throw me down on the pavement, pepper spray me, and then throw me in the cop car. If you've ever seen the movie Monster, the way Eileen was screaming, crying, cussing, kicking the seat, just flailing around in the like in the first her first rape scene. That would be how I looked and sounded. Um, when the police officer looked over at me, and it appeared to be that I was about to kick the window out. He quickly yelled, "If you kick that window out, it's another felony." And I didn't kick the window out. Um, I probably kicked the seat more, screamed more, or whatever. Um, Finally, we were on the way to the jail, and I think my emotion was calming down because the pain of the pepper spray was like seething, like in me, like I don't know, seething in within me. It was like, I don't know. Once we got to the jail, they had like this big ass bottle of water, and they did keep filling it up for me. I don't know how many times, enough to where I guess I see. Um, I was still hurting like hell. Trust me. Um, um, when I was getting booked in, they make you take a delousing shower, and yes, they still made me do it, even though I was burned from head to toe. Um, It wasn't so bad putting the powder on me, but when that water hit me, I know the whole jail heard my scream. And I mean scream. Um, this is the one time I didn't mind a cold cement cell. Um, so now the institutionalized me is locked up again, and these are probably the first rational thoughts I've ever had. What the hell am I doing to myself, my life? Why am I determined to be a junkie or a crackhead? And then I felt a sense of relief because at least now it's over. Um, I just gotta take care of these court dates, do whatever time I'm served, then get out and do things different. I really didn't know what that was yet, but I knew if I didn't, jail was gonna be a revolving door for me. This was becoming obvious. If there was ever a time I had an opportunity to seize everything I ever wanted in one moment, this would be the time. The jail I was locked up in recently began a new substance abuse program that was its own individual pod. I think it housed 14 women. And because we did so many classes and programs, we were on a slightly different schedule than regular pods. Things like our wake up and lockdown times were different, meal times, when we had free time, things like that. I honestly don't remember what all exactly I learned while there, but I remember I liked it. I remember feeling inspired. Probably good enough considering these were my first couple of months completely sober. I didn't stay at this jail long, only 3 months. If you remember in my last video, I told you I had check charges in multiple counties. Well, when I violated my probation, um, I violated both probations for both counties. So I had to go to court for both um, violations and get 2 sentences. And I got sentenced to 9 months. 3 months for one, 6 months for the other one. Um, the next jail I went to also had a program. This one I remember much more from, and to this day credited it to be what got the ball rolling for me, getting sober and staying sober. He's passed away now, but he still has videos on YouTube. His name is Delbert Boone. We started off watching his tapes. The videos on YouTube are like excerpts, but then he also comes to the jail I was at, and I thought that was really cool. And when he says things like, if you don't learn how to not use while you're in jail, what's the point of getting out? Because you're gonna, if you don't do things differently, you're just gonna come back to jail. You will be in jail again. I also learned by choosing a different way. Um, I'm essentially taking my own handcuffs off. I thought that was pretty cool. Because, he was saying, like, we want to blame society. We want to blame my parents. We want to blame the jails, the courts, the probation officer. And really, we're locking ourselves up. Um, and, uh, and so much more. Um, when I got released, May 25th, 2007, I went back to live with my grandparents. They are, yeah. And I guess there's some truth to third time's a charm. So, that's it. Um, those are my jail sentences. Um, I do go back to jail one more time. I don't stay in jail, but yeah, I do get in trouble again. Actually, I get in trouble a couple more times. So, Work in progress, right? It's not over. Thanks for listening. Have a great day or night.